Welcome to the show. How does it feel to be famous and on the show, The Real Estate Mogul MD?
It feels pretty great. I can hear the crowd cheering in the background. It's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for having us today.
I'm having a tough time hearing you over the crowd. Are you there?
Yes, yes.
Back to you in the studio.
Beautiful. So, Melissa and Eric, where do we start? Who are we talking with today? Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
So I started advisors with thought of it being just a bookkeeping firm when our oldest son was a junior in high school. I was in corporate America and working 80-hour weeks, 90-hour weeks, and felt like I was missing everything. Even though I was in an executive level position, I still felt bad anytime I had to miss time for a water polo game or this event or that event. And honestly, one day I just, it may have been fueled with a 𝗘𝗽𝗶𝘀𝗀 or two, and we may have been in Mexico on vacation, but I had just really had enough. And on the spot, I quit my job. And then in just magnificent fashion, as it seems like things happen in our lives, came home, decided to go for a run and kind of figure out what the next chapter of my life would look like. And I fell. And I say that and people are like, oh yeah, you fell running. And I'm all, no, I mean, I fell and the dental bills, we're pretty sure we at least paid for his boat and if not a second home. So I think close to $90,000 in dental bills. I just, that instinct of like, put your hands out when you're falling. Apparently I don't have it. I landed flat on my face at a full sprint. And what that gave me though, right? Always a positive person, I think. What that gave me was some time where I could kind of build this perfect, ideal business in my mind. And so once my jaw became unwired and I was able to kind of communicate and things like that, I hit the ground running and I knew what I wanted and I knew what my non-negotiables were. And we really were able to gain clients. There was a need for helping people, small business owners, medical practice owners who had maybe lost their biller or their person who had been on staff that had been doing that. And it was great for a while. And then right before COVID, my now business partner, who has been my husband and life partner for close to 20 years, it was New Year's Eve, or just before New Year's Eve, actually, and I really wanted to go out with friends. It sounds so funny, but he was a nurse at the time, and that meant that he was either on shift New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. It was never an option to have plans. And I looked at him, and it was just this moment of, it would have been tightening our belts a little bit, but I said, I think you should quit your job, and I think you should come and work with me.
I've been involved with numbers for businesses ever since I was 18 years old, and my family had a construction company. So being involved in that was not necessarily a big change. The real estate industry took a dive in 2008, and I decided that, I'm going to change to a field that is always going to have a job, always going to be paying really well, and I became a nurse. And at first I did correctional medicine, and then I moved on to being an infection control specialist, for several different facilities. And I came down to it that I didn't necessarily appreciate nor enjoy the bureaucracy that came with the job anymore. I loved working with the patients, and I loved working with, my fellow staff. But what I didn't like was the management side of it. So I was already in the back of my mind looking, and at this time I had been in the nursing industry for, close to 8 years. And I just decided, I think I need to transition somewhere else in the medical field. I got to move. I got all this other skill set. I've been doing taxes for myself and for friends and for other people for a long time. I know a lot of tricks, as people like to call them. And Melissa then said, hey, you know what? You should quit your job. And I'm like, I should do it. You may have an idea something needs to be different, but you don't know what you don't know. So if I have a problem with my foot, even though I have a lot of education in regards to healthcare, I'm still going to go see what I perceive to be a professional to help me out with my foot. The home treatment thing is probably not going to be the route that I go with. I'm going to ask a professional. I'm going to ask someone, hey, I have this idea or that it should be different. How do I make that idea now a reality? And on average, when I interact with my customers or my clients and I get them to change how they're doing their business, change their business structure, change their bookkeeping, and put additional policies and procedures into place for their corporation, they go all of a sudden that they're having these tax bills that are, $70,000 plus a year, that's dropping down to like into the mid-20s. And it's how do you do that? You use the tax code to your advantage, the same way that Alphabet does, the same way that Microsoft does, the same way, Intel, all of these other corporations, they're using these same codes, tax codes, to generate benefits for them. Why can't you do that with your own company? The answer is you can. Just because you have a couple of rentals, or you're picking up houses and you're flipping a couple of them every year, stuff like that, doesn't mean that you can't develop a corporate structure. Corporations have a much better tax setup to start with than sole proprietors or people that file Schedule E's for their rental properties. Now, if you got a rental property, you still have to file a Schedule E, and you have to go through all of that. But what if all of the money that came from that rental property first went to your corporation and then got distributed out to you, and you controlled how much money came in from that, because you're the one making decisions not only for your corporation, but also for your rental property.
So to take it back a step, I think one of the big, people listen to podcasts and they want some takeaway, right? They want some valuable nugget. And I think that the one big thing that anybody out there who's a business owner should be really thinking about is their business structure. You have a lot of professionals that would be assumed that they are set up as a corporation of some sort. And I would say we probably have one or two calls at least a week that they're still in some level operating as a sole proprietor, or they even have maybe side investments or side things that they don't have under any kind of corporate umbrella. So choosing the right business entity is huge. The audience that listens to you primarily, though, that we're talking to are medical professionals, correct?
Correct.
So for medical professionals, on the bookkeeping side of things, they are, if we have the avatar of them, they probably have somebody in their office, or hopefully have somebody in their office that's handling their billing, that's taking care of, bookkeeping, that's doing the financial things. And there's still huge things that they can do. If you haven't listened to the news, I don't know, you'd have to be under a box to not realize that it's really challenging for any business to retain employees right now. And investing in your employees is a huge benefit that is kind of a double-sided. You invest in your employees, and I'll let Eric kind of jump in on different things that you can do to invest in your employees, but you invest in your employees and the employee stays with you.
So there is a lot of things that you can do within your corporate structure if you have one that you can't necessarily do as a sole proprietor. And the IRS makes that code distinction very important. Sole proprietors can write off a portion of their cell phone. They can write off a portion, they can do a home office expense and stuff like that. These are all awesome, and you should do them if you're a sole proprietor. But what if you were a corporation? Well, corporations can do it vastly different. And when a corporation reports its tax filing, it then generates a K-1 that then comes over to your personal taxes, right? And if it generates losses, then those losses come straight over. And then you can deduct that against your professional wages, right? Reducing your liability from your professional wages. So it's important for an individual to understand that the structure needs to be, the groundwork needs to be laid out correctly for you to build on it. And sometimes we don't necessarily know how to do that groundwork. And there's lots of ways to educate yourself.
Interesting. And when you mention corporate structure, you're referring to LLC to C Corp, like the full reign of structures, or is it specifically in the LLC range, LLC, S Corp, that kind of stuff?
So there's a lot of misunderstanding around what you just asked, and that's an excellent question, because a lot of people that we talk to will believe that they are set up, they're set, they're doing, what they have found in their, we'll say, legal education to maximize their taxes, and they'll have these calls, and it's almost like they're trying to get a gold star from us with us saying, yep, you've done all you can. But there's this misunderstanding about an LLC being a corporate structure, and while it is a level of protection and an umbrella, so to speak, when we talk about corporate structures as far as what's advantageous tax-wise for a business, what we're talking about is an S Corp or a C Corp. And there's, of course, definitely different pros and cons to each, which is what makes it all the more fun, right? To kind of figure that puzzle out.